All right, Mr. Benson, I know you're busy. I know you have a hard-out friend of the show, Alan dos Santos. He's a Brazilian journalist, critic of Lula. He reached out to us regarding USAID and Bolsonaro. Can you shed some light on that situation where he was basically telling us, I didn't get the full story, it happened last minute before we went live, that USAID helped perhaps install Lula in Brazil? Okay.
Yeah.
So how did that, I know there's probably a web and a funnel, but give us the general kind of the snapshot, I guess, to start.
Sure. So in 2016, Donald Trump won the U.S. presidency, and along with his rise to power, a ring of so-called populist candidates began winning elections all over the world. For example, in Europe, you had Marine Le Pen, Nigel Farage, Matteo Salvini, the Vox Party in Spain, the rise of the AfD Party in Germany. And at the time, NATO and the U.S. foreign policy establishment were worried that populism, because it's the will of the people rather than the consensus of the institutions, it's basically a nationalism versus globalism story here, was going to destroy and basically end the so-called rules-based international order. Brexit would give rise to Frexit, Spexit, it'll exit, Grexit. The EU would come undone, NATO would come undone. And the ring of populist leaders in countries in South America and in Central Asia would form what they feared was essentially a new non-aligned movement. The non-aligned movement was this pact of countries during the Cold War who said that they were not aligned with either of the two major powers, the U.S. or the Soviet Union, that they would do business with both, which was a big thorn in the side of the U.S. foreign policy establishment, who wanted to starve out the Soviet Union economically and block the interlinkages. So they feared that these populist political candidates would, destroy the rules-based international order and form this new non-aligned movement bloc. And so when Bolsonaro won the election in October 2018, USAID and its web of sister entities in the foreign policy establishment, in particular the National Endowment for Democracy, decided internally and talked about this even in their own panels and source documents, that Bolsonaro was a populist threat to democracy. And as democracy promotion programs, USAID is, and National Endowment for Democracy are, that they then had the remit to overthrow the government of Brazil in order to stop the populist attack on democracy there. And so what they did is they then flooded the zone. They more than doubled the USAID budget and NED budget for Brazil, more than doubled the so-called foreign assistance. But what they pumped that into were into anti-Bolsonaro institutions. And what really activated me on this issue, as someone who's centrally focused on internet censorship, is that USAID and NED capacity built, meaning they funded and built all of the key institutions inside of Brazil that Brazilians think, if they don't know this backstory, are Brazilian, but are in fact on the payroll of the U.S. government in order to advocate for the passage of censorship laws and even to construct the machinations and operations of the very censorship court, the TSE. This is the subsection of the Brazilian Supreme Court that's responsible for adjudicating elections and for censoring the internet in the name of preserving the integrity of elections. Right. This is the de Moraes judge. And so they packed that court. They packed it with their judicial clerks, with their legal folks. They packed it with their disinformation flaggers. They helped form the disinformation task force at TSE. The U.S. government, USAID and NED, even brought in de Moraes and as well as the head of the STF for training on disinformation, so that they could personally micro target, and use the best American censorship techniques in order to nuke Bolsonaro from orbit. And actually, one of these U.S.-sponsored organizations that got $5.7 million from the U.S. government to do this said that Bolsonaro would have been president unless they had done this.